Hey, beautiful people, and welcome back to the Good Up podcast. It's season 10, and today is a good day because we were just reminiscing. We bringing back a guest who has not been on the show for 4 years. So much has happened since the last time this man has been on the show. And of course, we bringing him back for an interesting topic. We stressing Andrea out today. So
For real. I know. That's what I do best. That's
yeah,
what
we
ladies do best
we
to
we
men.
we'd have
But
just
you
stressed
handle
man
it
out.
so
That's what we do.
well. You
He
navigate it so well.
he
Most men
does
get so
navigate it well.
emotionally charged, and you continue to maintain a level head. It's not stress for you. You're built
We'll
for
see
this.
by the we'll see
We
by
gonna
the
see
end of the
by the end of
episode.
the episode.
We'll see.
So Andre is back on the podcast today. For those of you who are OG listeners, you know that Andre was on our Boys Don't Cry episode. I can't remember the full name of it. Malcolm was on that episode too. We thought we'd bring him back today for an interesting topic. We'll get to that topic in just a bit. Deidre, how are you? Andre, how are you? Let's start with that. Let's come
Ladies
in the
first.
right way.
Ladies
I-
first, Deidre, how are you?
I'm doing very well, actually. I slept in today. Dylan made his own breakfast with my supervision. He put some Eggo waffles in the toaster and put some brown and syrup sausage in the microwave. But
You know what that is,
regardless.
though? Growth. That's
Hello, because y'all know. In any case, I'm doing very well. I slept in. I am very excited because I drank 2 cocktails yesterday and did not get sick. So I am very happy about that.
we're gonna talk about
Because
these
you know
tequila
I've been
shots I took
struggling with
last
that.
week. I love it though. Love
How
to see
about
it.
you,
Andre, how are you?
Isa?
Oh, me,
Andre said ladies first.
Yeah,
And
ladies
judging
first.
by your Instagram and your trip,
I am great. I'm exhausted. I just came back from a work trip to Seattle. I was there for a conference. It was everything. I'm probably still hungover from this walk trip. Yes, it was a walk conference. Yes, I was drinking. We're gonna talk about that later.
work conferences are where people drink.
So
Anybody who's worked a corporate job knows that.
this organization that I went to a conference to has a Black caucus, and when we don't get together, we don't turn up.
Y'all be
So it was a night, and tequila shots were had. I'm still recovering. I'm realizing that the more I get into my 30s, the less I could do the shit I used to do when I was 18. Okay, and I still learn in that lesson. So
Yeah.
but it was fun. It was great. I don't feel rested, but I feel good. So we here. We here. Andre, how are you?
How are you?
Well, I have not been drinking. I guess
Good
it's
for
one
you.
of the three of us that haven't been drinking, but I'm feeling really good, man. Yesterday we did Battle of the Agencies, is where all of the government agencies come together on the beach and we compete in games. And I am very, very, very competitive. And we kick ass. Education coming second. And this is our first year. Well, this is the first year I ever did it. But this was education's first year since like 2019 or something like that. So I learned a lot yesterday, and I'm coming back for everybody head next year. I feel like next year
Heard
already.
it on the podcast. Fuss.
That sounds okay. First of all, that sounds so lit.
Yeah.
That
Every time I
sounds
see that,
really
it'll sound
fun.
amazing. So
Damn.
shout out to whoever decided to start that event.
To make that
that's
a
actually
thing.
dope. Yeah.
It's just kind of lit because I feel like millennials are who's in charge now, and we just making life lit for everybody. That's just my thoughts. And actually,
I don't
that's a great
disagree.
segue into the hill we finna die on. I think that's the segue.
So starting with a hill we gonna die on. Y'all know if you listen to the podcast every week, we don't come in here and state facts and or truths that we refuse to move away from. These are the hills we gonna die on. You ain't gonna beat our ass. So my personal hill I gonna die on this week, Deidre, is you do not know that lady. And what I mean by that is y'all need to remember that these people online that you follow, these celebrities you look up to, you do not know that lady. And this goes for me too, okay? Y'all know I love Beyonce, love She Dong. I don't know that lady. I don't know that lady.
And we never will, and that's okay.
She could be in her house murdering gerbils for fun. I don't know that lady. Okay. So just a reminder, because some of y'all get real passionate online running up behind these people that you do not know. And that includes us. We are a platform. I recognize that. Deidre and I were talking about this on the Instagram live. When we do that live, maybe like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, a while ago, yeah.
We I ain't gonna go into the details, but we were talking about how sometimes y'all listen to episodes and then you don't like DM us and like
Trauma
want to get
dump.
kind of personal with
Yeah.
us, which I respect. I recognize that this has created a safe space, but you do not know that lady. Like, just, remember your boundaries, remember,
Yeah.
all of that stuff. And yeah, stop trying to act up online behind these celebrities you don't know, because you will catch charges, and there are stand your ground states across the US. So just don't be
Facts.
crazy. That's
Can
my
I
hill.
So I was
ask you?
listening to a podcast. I don't remember which one it was, and they were likening our view of celebrities to, like when we were hunters and gatherers, right? Like
Mhm.
the person that used to go and get food for the village, they were revered, and you wanted to have babies by this person because this person would be who would provide for you, or if you have children with them, you would feel like your children would follow in their footsteps. And it's just kind of interesting how they likened it to our now celebrity worship. Now that we don't have to forage for food, we kind of just look at these people who can't do things that we do, or things that we would want to do but may not be as good as, and then we idolize them. So it's like, especially in the internet era now where we have a direct line to them,
Mhm.
it makes us feel like, oh yeah, I don't listen to you all the time, I don't watch you all the time, you're my best friend, I have this shrine in my kitchen for you. So it's like, we really don't know these people, and these people might be some nut jobs, and that they prove it to us all the time.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
I could
Case
set
in
up camp
point,
on your hill here, Isaac.
hello, case in
Andrea
point,
down the
Jennifer
hill.
Lopez. Have you guys been seeing how people are ripping that lady to shreds on the internet?
I've seen a bit of it, but not really.
J-Lo has been getting so much like, for one, I've been hearing sprinkles for years about J-Lo not being a nice person, just being difficult to be around. But after this, I don't know what to call her project. After this thing that she released, she put together
It
some
was like
kind
a
of,
film
it was like a music
documentary.
video documentary film
Yeah.
kind of thing, and it was inspired by her and Ben Affleck's love story that was never told, or whatever the case may be. But it was a very poor business decision. I can't speak to artistry. I'll never try to criticize an artist and their passions, but from a business standpoint, it was a terrible decision. But some of the things that she said in the documentary, people are just sick and tired, especially people from the Bronx. But people are ripping her to shreds, and people are coming forward talking about how she has gotten like crew people fired for making eye contact with her. Like, and then people are like, clips are resurfacing of her just being tone deaf as fuck in like round table discussions with other actresses. It's just a lot. And I'm just like, damn. I feel like there was a point.
So J-Lo is Lizzo?
J-Lo,
Ooh.
and it add Lizzo to that bucket, because
You know
I
what?
had beef for you, here, Isaac. I had beef for you here, Isaac,
For
about the
loving
whole
Lizzo?
Lizzo thing. No, fine for loving Lizzo, right? So here's what I saw, or here's what I see, right? And this will kind of bleed into our topic, but we see people talk about believing our women. And I am a believer of listening to our women. If something happens to you, you should say something. It is definitely is way more believable than that, right? But when them ladies come out and say what they had to say about Lizzo, hey, I say, I want your Twitter and one. Hey, I say, man, if Lizzo did such and such and such, I will be so disappointed. Why is it a if?
For me,
Why
I ain't gonna
isn't
lie, that was bias. That was my bias. That was my bias.
There we
I
go.
had a hard time because I genuinely love that lady. Loved, I don't know how I feel. I had a bias, and I did not want to believe that she was capable of what she was doing. And I've gotten to the point now where it's same. I on this hill. I had to come to Jesus with myself and be like, hey, Isaac, you don't know that lady. You don't know that lady. You went to her concert, you had a life-changing experience. Great. You still don't know that lady. So
that's
But it's okay. It's okay for you to
Yeah.
have that vibe.
And I'm willing to admit that, because I was pissed. I was so pissed, because I was like, yo, you on this whole empowerment tip and wanting people to feel accepted, and that's literally the atmosphere of her whole concert. And I'm like, and you high key a bully, and it's believable, because when you give a person who has been, quote unquote,
the underdog,
oppressed, the underdog, that type of power and that type of prominence, yeah, they likely will turn into a bully. So I don't think it's far-fetched. I willing to admit I had a hard ass time accepting that shit in the beginning.
Yeah.
It would be the same with Beyonce. If it come out that Beyonce is just like this horrible, and she might be, I gonna probably have a hard time, but at
she
the end of
could
the
be.
day,
We will never know.
yeah, at the end of the day, if she's a terrible person, she's a terrible person. She ain't gonna get my money no more. Like, it's just it's life, man. We don't know these people. So that's my
Facts.
hit.
Hello. You know what I will say? We don't know them, but just to add a little sprinkle to that Lizzo conversation, the one thing that I will say I have to agree with people who were criticizing those who were so quick to believe the accusations against Lizzo, because for me, I'm always believe a victim, whether the accused is a man or a woman. If somebody comes out and says that they were sexually violated, baby, I'm believing them until they're proven to not, because nobody's gonna just lie about that. And that's not saying that people haven't, but generally, people who have been
I feel like
sexually
it's
violated, like
unlikely.
nobody. It's really unlikely for somebody to lie about something like that. And if they do, they're probably really, in any case, I feel like if it were a different woman, if it wasn't a fat Black woman, people would have been a little bit less likely to just jump straight to, Lizzo is a violator, she's abusive. There were people who were
I
like,
do think that was a part of it.
of why you were like,
Yeah.
if this happened, because the truth is it's easier for people to turn on Black women, let alone fat Black women, dark skin, you know what I mean? So that I will agree
Yeah.
with. However, I was absolutely one of those people who were like, what
Yeah,
the fuck is on Lizzo's fucking, like, I was pissed when I got that news, because I'm sorry, I'm gonna always believe somebody who says they were violated.
I think why I had a hard time with was not necessarily believing that the allegations was true, but it was the way people they turn it into like, oh, like it became fat phobic real quick. Like it became about how
Yeah.
Lizzo looks more so than the actual victims.
Than the actual, yeah.
And that in addition to why I just said earlier, like there was an obvious bias there. Like I have feel some type of way because I was just like, of course you couldn't wait. You could not
They
wait
needed
for
a
this
reason
person
to
be the
turn
bad
on
guy.
Lizzo, because a lot of
Yeah.
people secretly did not like Lizzo because she's fat. We just gonna call a thing a thing. A lot of people just genuinely resented the kind of success that Lizzo has, and they just needed a reason to,
Yeah, and they was like,
to
oh,
bash her.
I could have seen it coming. I knew it. Like,
Yeah, and it's
You
like, girl, no, you
didn't.
didn't. No, you
You
didn't.
didn't.
You didn't. Just calm down. Like,
yeah.
but so my hill that I'm gonna die on, because it just came to me, because I'm gonna tell you I was ill prepared, but now I have one. You ain't gonna ever, nobody is gonna make me hate being a millennial.
Ever.
You can't make me hate being a millennial. It just is what it is. We've been through some shit. We may just be a baby, because at the end of the day, I am 33 years old and I'm just a baby. Like,
I don't know.
I don't know shit about nothing.
Nobody knows anything.
We don't know shit. Like when our parents was working in them government agencies, they were just going to work, clocking in, coming home, and complaining all night on the phone about their colleagues. What are millennials doing? Creating these dope ass events to make working at these fuck places worth a damn. It's lit over here. I'm sorry, being a millennial is fucking lit. The
It
fuck?
is.
I love it here, but that's the hill I'm gonna die on.
I suppose.
Save some space for me on the hill.
Period. It's very
Yeah.
nice over here. We have a
Jenna
fire
bought hills
pit.
today.
We have a free range garden. Everybody who wants to come visit my hill can come and plant something, and I'll
Your
take
hill
care of
always be
it until your
nice.
next visit. It's lit over here.
All right.
So
Jay,
I know I
what's
gonna be
your
on
hill?
my hill by myself. I know for sure I gonna be on my
You
hill by
never
myself.
know.
Oh boy, let's see.
No, I know for sure.
Okay, I love the self-awareness.
I feel like the hill is based on something we say in our previous episode. So
That's what I'm giving. Like he came here to.
No, but listen, I am a fan of the show. I'm a patron, and I listen and I watch, and it's always a beautiful thing. And the hill I go down is that the ladies of the Good Up podcast don't like me. And I'll tell you what, I'll give you two
I'm
reasons.
not coming to that fuck ass hill.
I know you
stand
ain't coming.
you.
I tell you, I would have been there by myself. But here's the thing, right? The first time I was invited onto the episode, I was told that I was going to come to talk about toxic masculinity. And I am not toxic, and I am not what would be the face of a typical masculinity.
This was the
So
first
like, wow, these
episode you do
girls
with
setting
us.
me up, man. Am I really trying to set me up? Why come and we knock it out of the park? At that time, I feel like it was one of the most well-received episodes. But either way, I
still
know
one
it
of
was set
our
up, right?
most-
It's still one of our top. Like I think for both of us, it's at least in our top 10, top 5. Like that
So
episode
now-
always comes up when we do a countdown.
So now you guys bring me here to talk about men and women on the internet, and I have to now either defend what these stupid man to do, or I got a rat on man for doing things that man to do. So it's like he set me up again. And also, if you rearrange the letters, Adidra's name is spells Die Dre. As a matter of fact, when I watched the last episode with Diamond, somebody misspelled it. Somebody misspelled her name on the Zoom, and it said Diedre.
Wait, that's how
Deidre.
my name's spelled. Deidre.
No,
Oh, you
no,
said
no, no, no.
D-I-E?
DIE.
So somebody whip it around. It might have been a
Oh,
fast typing, but it did say
it might have been.
Deidre, and I was like, wow, I had zooming in on the thing where I like listen, like, wow, it rough out there. So that's the hill I died on. I
You
don't like
know,
me, but it's okay.
I'm not
I
coming
will
to your
not
hill,
be
but
on
I'll
that
send
hill.
Uber Eats. I'm gonna send Uber Eats so you don't die. Like so you
So,
can, in hopes that you change your mind.
I stay on the hill long enough to roll on, right?
and the fact that Andre took it this way instead of, we think you are one of the most logical men we know. And
Which
the
is why you're
only
even
way
on this show.
we having this so no, and honestly, the only way I am willing to have these types of conversations is where I know that there are logical adults in the room who could look at things, objectively and not
Yeah.
getting to know big you versus me. Like, I don't like having those types of conversations,
Yeah.
which is, and the sad part is, aside from Ludens, maybe Luben, a handful of others, it's Andre, like, which is why Ludens and
It's
Andre are
true.
returning guests to the
How
show.
is it?
It's true.
And it's unfortunate. And if you're a man and you don't listen to the show, step to the plate and talk to me, Papa, because y'all on the
Yeah.
internet do not represent yourselves well. And some women don't either.
No.
I said it before. I don't support all women. Some are dumb.
Yeah.
So, Andre, you here because we respect you, not because we hate
Exactly.
you.
Like what? And
I
here's the
appreciate
thing.
that.
Because I feel like in a recent episode, Hey Eyes, I had to remind people that we are not like, if you want to listen to the podcast where hosts are inviting guests just to argue and debate, you're listening to the wrong show. You know what I mean? We invite guests who have something fruitful and beneficial to add to the conversation. Always. If anybody has ever been a guest on the show or has been invited to be a guest for future episodes, it's because we value and we genuinely believe you're going to have something to add to the conversation. We're not here to, and here's the thing, most of the time our guests agree with us, but even guests who we're not on the same page, we learn something from our guests.
Well, yeah, Andre, you're gonna be by yourself on the hill.
Sorry.
I'm sure Nina gonna pass by and make sure you good.
She gonna bring you some good food. She gonna bring the
Make sure
children
the
to
babies
visit.
wave. But yes, you're right. You by yourself on that hill. So
Yeah, sorry, buddy.
all right. So our next segment is Spotted Being Good Up. Is where we shout out people for doing good shit. No matter what type of person it is, individual, creator, whoever. I am so excited to share my personal Spotted Being Good Up because they're related to me. So Lizette Llanos, she is on St. Croix. She is an educator. Lizette, oh my gosh, for a couple of years now has been doing these like community projects where she raises money to take kids to go see like movies, especially movies where we can see reflections of ourselves. And the most recent one, I think, was the Bob Marley like biopic. She ended up getting support from the Tim Duncan Foundation, from Rashidi. So shout out to Rashidi over at Vivid Streaming. But Lizette like does this for no other reason other than like she really fucking love kids and she love our community. And she, to me, is a good example of what could happen when VI people get out of this whole, like, we don't have this, and get into like, okay, what are we doing?
How do we get it? Yeah.
Yeah, she really is a good example of like what mutual aid and like community support looks like without us waiting for somebody else to do it. So yeah, shout out to Lizette for the work she's doing. I was able to contribute to the last fundraiser that she had. I'm going to keep doing that. If y'all have not heard of her, I will make sure that y'all know what her page is. But yeah, Lizette, you got a bad, and I'm proud to be related to you. So yeah.
Well, for one, can you make sure that the link, if she has like a GoFundMe or any kind of crowdfunding, can you make sure the link is in the description of the episode so people can support her?
She usually does it by like independent posts, depending on like when the projects come up. But I will definitely share her profile so people know who she is.
So we know. Yes, that's a good help. Yeah, I would like that to be on our episode because that's really dope. Anybody who prioritizes children is a win in my book. Because at the end of the day, I'm one of those people, and I don't care how cliche it is, the children are literally our future. Yeah, a lot of people be spending too much time on the people of the past and even the people of the present. A lot of us ain't shit. We need to be investing in these children, okay? Because the earth is gonna die if we don't. The earth is already on a bad trajectory, if we're being honest. So shout out to Lizette.
But also not enough people. Like, yeah, it's team fuck these kids, right? But not really. Like, it's fuck these kids. As in, I don't want them in my house. But when it comes to community, I think that when community takes the focus off of children, that's when we start to have a lot of problems. Like, if you don't know how to love kids in community, then you have a problem. So I think Lizette is a really, really good example of that. Yeah. that's my person. Andre,
I like
Deidre,
that.
do you have a person?
Andre should go first because my person is like, yeah. It's and my person is actually, it's funny because it's a little bit ironic considering what the hill that you decided to die on is. But so
Damn.
I'm
Oh
gonna
no,
let
I could be a person. I could be a person, but I could go.
you go, and then I'm gonna tell y'all my person, but then I'm gonna tell y'all why, and y'all gonna be
Okay.
like, oh, here Deidre go with her woo woo shit again. But
So my person is related to me too. My person is Marcellina Ventura Douglas. She has been spotted being good up many a times, but she's recently
being so excited.
She's the news person in the Virgin Islands. She is the 5 o'clock news person on WTJX radio 93.1. Or if you download the WTJX app or wherever you listen to your podcast, you can listen to the WTJX news feed. She does a lot. She gets the news. She interviews people. She edits the news. She puts the news out, and then she goes and does it again for the next day, fresh every day. She's been doing it since like October, but like she's really hit her stride, and she's broken stories about the fire department. She was on the scene for other things, for the march in to support the people in Palestine. It's just been a lot, and she's doing a lot of good things. And I know a lot of us don't listen to the news on the radio, but if you have a cell phone, you have the news, whether you live on island or in the islands. If you live in the States, you can always tune in. It's 5 p.m. every day, and it's recorded right after the 5 p.m. or is put onto the website right after 5 p.m. goes, so you can always catch up on the news.
You know what?
Big up yourself,
so
Nina.
friggin' dope. Shit. Nina, you the shit. Like dead ass. What?
Yeah.
That's fire.
Yeah, I love that.
No worry, I could probably embarrass her at some point during the episode, so let me big up in the beginning so that I could just soften the blow.
Yeah,
oh my God,
that's the
dope.
podcast because he said he know how to be in here whiling. So no, shout out to Hado, and that's good for me to know because I really have not been able to get as much of my news from the Virgin Islands ever since I decided that I would rather keel over than support the Virgin Islands Consortium. So
I would rather eat a denim jacket.
Right. It's good to know so that I could actually have an app where I catch up on my VI news. And of course the Virgin Islands source, shout out to y'all. I listen to real news and I read real news. But no, yeah,
Actual
shout out
news.
to Nina because she's a dope person all around. Huge supporter of the podcast as well. And I love that for her, like coming into your thing and like growing it. Like I know she is a passion project for her. You could tell how much she loved doing it. So yeah, shout out to you.
Fire. That's a commitment for real. I admire the fuck out of that. Shout out to you, Nina, because Lord knows the Virgin Islands been missing real news for a minute. So my person is unrelated to the Virgin Islands. And I don't know this lady, but it's something about her content that I enjoy. And seeing people fume behind her content is why I was like, yeah, I think she is good up, because without even trying, she's making people realize how fucking jealous they are. Shout out to our jealousy episode. My person is Nara Smith. She's probably giving birth to her new baby at any moment now. But the reason why I went with her is because, especially, and it kind of was inspired by Hey Isa's person being good up, because this woman is simply on the internet making things from scratch in very beautiful gowns, and people are seething. Like, it's her comment section is split between people who are like, you'll never get me to hate Nara Smith, and then others who are like, be so for real, Nara.
Is this the lady who made cereal from scratch?
Yes. I'm sorry. I love Nara Smith. You're not going to get me to not like that girl. Mind you, she's only like 22. She's married. She's pregnant with like her third kid. I'm like, girl, why did you do that to yourself? But it's her life to do what she wants, right? She does not mark, because a lot of people have just put her in the trad wife category. I've never seen her consider herself a trad wife. She does not say that she's a trad wife.
For the
influencer.
Listeners, tell us what a trad wife is?
A trad wife is short for traditional wife. So a lot of people are like, oh, Nara Smith is a trad wife influencer, and we already know the dangers of being a trad wife and blah, blah, blah. It's like, she's never said she was a trad wife influencer. Literally, when you look at her content, she is either making some random shit from scratch or she's doing like skincare or something. If anything, I would probably quickly consider her a lifestyle influencer, but not a trad wife influencer. But in any case, the reason why I said I decided to go with her is because a lot of people, instead of just admitting, yo, I'm fucking jealous that this lady lady has this much time on her hands to have this. She got 2 toddlers and she's pregnant and she is always looking beautiful and cooking her shit from scratch. And she seems, and again, this is just content. We don't know what her life looked like when the cameras are off, right? But what she's portraying to us is a very beautiful life. Everybody's always dressed nicely. If the children ask for PB&J, they have to wait 6 hours for it. But regardless, I mean, you know, like,
That's the
she
only
legit,
thing I'll get answer.
no, legit. She was like, one of my toddlers wanted PB&J. So, and this fucking lady made brioche from scratch or milk bread or something. She made peanut butter from scratch. She made jelly from scratch. I was like, girl, I don't even
Yeah,
want
no.
that shit no more.
Yeah, I'd have been like,
But
Ma, you good? Just
and the child probably really didn't request it, but I've come to realize that some of her content, she's actually fucking with us, because the minute somebody like says something critical about something she chose to make from scratch, she makes something even more ridiculous from scratch.
yeah.
So I actually
And
like
people
that
keep coming back. So I think the fact that
they
people can't
keep
see that
coming
that's like
back.
it's just content. Like, you don't know that lady.
It's just content at the end of the day, and y'all are putting more money in this lady's pocket to have all the time in the world to do what? Continue to make shit from scratch. But her presence alone is triggering so many people's jealousy and envy. And we're like, we should be focused more on why it's not common to have the kind of time to properly feed your family, as opposed to, oh, this lady is living an unrealistic life. Why are we on a fucking wheel of capitalism that we don't have the bandwidth to properly feed our families? Because we should all aspire to be in a position to be able to prep our meals from scratch and all that shit. And we're not. We have to feed our fucking kids dino nuggets instead of
I
chopping
like
up the
dino
chicken ourselves and all that shit. So y'all, I just feel like people are mad at the wrong person. And if anything,
Yeah.
you should be
I want to know why dino nuggets getting slandered.
because
Yeah,
they're
it's
terrible
a-
for you. We don't even
Yeah,
I
know
it's
don't
a
eat them
say-
anymore, but
But
Yeah,
that's
I
my
love
point.
dinosaurs and nuggets.
Yeah. No, like
Hold
dino
on.
nuggets, you know, they cute or whatever. You know, I'm sure her toddlers would probably prefer dino nuggets over the chicken nuggets she probably makes from scratch, just because they're shaped like dinosaurs, right? They don't know what they're missing. But regardless, I feel like everybody who's mad at Nara Smith for being able to sit there and make peanut butter from scratch, they're mad at the wrong person. They're mad at the wrong person. We should be mad that we live in a society, because realistically, in most countries, including where we're from, people be making stuff from scratch more than they be getting the processed shit. When you really think about it, like in Europe, they mostly make their own bread. And even if they're not making their own bread, they're getting that shit from like the bakery and it was made that day. It's not the processed shit we be eating. That woman is not American. Okay. Even us, we're from the Virgin Islands. Yeah, we get some of the processed bullshit at the grocery store, but majority of our diets growing up, our moms were making rice, chicken, and beans every night. Our fucking auntie was rolling out pate dough and all this shit. Like, it's more common to make things
Making
from
Johnny
scratch in
cake.
other countries than it's not. But people vex with the wrong person. And you ain't gonna get me to hit Nara Smith. I'm sorry. That's my person being good up.
well, shout out to her. I don't disagree that, you know, the true problem is that we don't have time to do the things that we see some influencers doing because they have the time and the money to do it. I haven't watched much of her content. I'm not mad at that lady because I don't know that lady. So yeah, shout out to
Right.
you.
And that's my thing. I'm like, we don't know that lady to be mad at her or not. You know, like just enjoy the content. Because I'm sorry, I find her content to be entertaining as fuck.
I mean, that shit make me laugh because I was like, wow, you made Cookie Crisp, like the cereal, but from like she make each thing a
She was
cereal
sitting
in
there
the
rolling the
bowl
little, and she
from
made Cocoa Puffs
scratch.
too.
And I was like, that's dedication, and that's never going to be me.
And
Good for
again,
you.
I genuinely believe you can't tell me that she didn't do that because she was. I think she'd be trolling people sometimes in
I
her
could have
content.
all the time in the wall. I ain't making everything from scratch.
Yeah, when I saw her, I said, Nara, don't fucking play with me. I was so annoyed, but I also was like, you know what? Keep trolling, because why not? Because y'all mad at the wrong person.
Why
Like,
not?
what? But yeah, that's my person being good up. And she probably about to have a baby, and you ain't gonna never get me to say nothing negative about a lady about to have a baby.
Listen,
Fuck.
same, because couldn't be me.
Yeah.
Anyway, so today's main topic, we're going to get into it, and you're gonna understand why Andre think that we hate he. So in this episode, this is one that I've wanted to have for a long time. If you're on the internet, you know that anytime a gendered conversation comes up, there's a lot of vitriol on either side. There's a lot of, you don't do this, man don't do this, woman don't do that. If you don't pay for this, you broke. If you don't look like that, like just all types of very like absolute stereotypical, I don't know how else to describe it, just like hateful conversations, right? They're based in something. We all have our own life experiences. I think me personally, and we'll get into it later, but I think a lot of the discourse that come online is from people trying to apply their personal experiences to the general population and assuming that everybody understands, everybody has context, everybody, whatever. But today I kind of wanted to try to get down to the bottom of it, which is specifically between Black men and Black women. How did we get here? Like, why is this level of disconnect between us? Why can't we have respectful conversations with each other? Why do we feel sort of alienated from each other in terms of just like Black men and Black women largely are not friends, if that makes sense. Like, that's how I view it based on the discourse that we see online, outside of those of us that like are genuinely friends or like have relationships with each other. So we brought Andre on to like have this conversation. You know, what is the cause of this? How did we get here? How could we be having better discourse? Keeping in mind, I'm a married woman. Andre is a married man. So we have a different perspective on this. Like, people gonna come out here and be like, at the end of the day, you married. You ain't been on the street. It had a girl on Twitter who literally said, I recognize that you haven't been on the streets for quite some time, so you don't know what it's like. I was like, damn.
We can't be mad at her because she's right.
Sorry,
it's true.
She was right.
Right. And like, you've been with Marcellina for how long, Dre?
This July will be 14 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been a while.
The reality is it's crazy out here.
But I will say
crazy out here.
It's, to me, it's also not just about dating. Because I think even in my friendships with Black men, I think they even sometimes come into our friendships just ready to like defend themselves sometimes. And I'm like, yo, like, this ain't Twitter. I'm not talking to you crazy. Like, relax. So, you know, it's even seeping into our ability to have like genuine friendships with each other outside of just dating, because the discourse has become so much
Y'all
about
gonna be so
dating.
mad at me after today's topic. Y'all gonna be so mad at me.
And about relationships. So we're gonna talk about it. And I gonna start with this. Again, conversations online between Black men and Black women, whether it's dating, relationships, pop culture, have become extremely toxic, extremely vitriolic. We're not actually having discourse. We're not actually talking. We just kind of yelling at each other. So how do you think we got here? How did we get here?
I think we were always here. It's just more publicized. I think we've always been here, but we have social media. That's just my thoughts. Sorry.
No, I don't particularly disagree with you, but I think the internet is really, really filled with hyperbole, and everything, the pendulum swings very far on either side, and there's not much swing room. And granted, I have not been in the streets for a very long time, but like I see people that like each other. I see people that love each other, even if they're not married. And the conversations online of what he have to be 6 feet tall and he have to make 6 figures, and if he have a 6-inch penis is small. I see that in. I see more than one woman say that. If you have a 6-inch penis, if your penis is half of a ruler, it's small. And it's like I think that the hyperbole that comes about draws people in, and people have been in your words, as I guess maybe so disappointed for so long that it's like, okay, well, I deserve this person that is sensationalized as this good person because of all the things that they have. Or from the other side, men want women who work but still come home and be housewives at the same time, or they want a very freaky woman that ain't been freaky with nobody else ever in their life. So how the hell they learn how to do that stuff, right? And we all just kind of fall into this space of non-reality, because internet is like the TV for people. When I was young, they tell me you can't believe everything you see on TV. And I would say, even though it might be based in something, I don't know that we could believe every single thing that we see on the internet.
Agreed.
I don't disagree. And I just want to say, although we have not been on the streets, picture the street as what a street called Queen Street in West, where the parade to go down. You see the buildings in the top, where everybody from the patios will just be watching the parade happening, and they ain't really taking part, they ain't wilding, but they kind of just watch it. We just watching Juve happen, right? That's what it's been like. Because although I have not been on the streets, I have been a witness to the discourse that happens in a lot. So like, I have an idea of what's going on. I thank God every day that I don't have to go back out there. And I've already said it on this podcast. Should
Here's
God
a
forbid, I have to go back out there, mean going. I'm not going.
here's a it look okay. I'm married and I don't want to not be married. But it kind of look like fun, man. But not fun like, okay, let me say this.
It looks
And don't look at me crazy,
stressful,
DJ.
Andre.
No. But no, this is a man woman perspective thing,
As
right?
somebody who's been in the streets this whole time,
It's not
what?
fun.
We are
No,
not
but
safe
listen.
out here.
Hear me out. It seemed like fun to have fun in, right?
Mhm.
It was very difficult for me, or maybe even other men, to approach women just kind of. I might look like somebody who have the wall of confidence, right? But I haven't always been the most confident guy. So for me to approach somebody was very difficult in the 90s or the early 2000s before I was born. Now I could just see somebody online and have a conversation with them. They could pick up on my personality. We could have so many. I feel like the world has opened up a lot more. It just going to different places, doing different things. And maybe it might be fun for me because I might be a quote unquote good guy, whatever that is. But it just feels like there's so much more opportunity to do things and to meet different types of people. And a lot more people are a lot more open about what they want, seemingly. Whether it's non-monogamy, or if you into anime, you get anime people that you could find all over the country. If you into cooking, you get cooking people all over. These are to read people. I never meet anybody that read people before this time. So it's like I feel it looks fun for me because I enjoy meeting people to a certain degree. And it feels like the channels are a lot more open for people to meet.
Yeah.
That's why it look fun to me.
Okay, now that you've explained it, I can see why you said that. And I'm gonna be honest with you, Dre. A big part of why it would be fun for you is because you check a lot of boxes. It wouldn't be hard for you to date because physically it's gonna be easy for you to meet women, but you're also very intelligent. You can carry a conversation. You check a lot of boxes. So yes, because I'm like,
Head of said-
have you
head
seen
of
my
said, Deidre.
DMs?
But no, listen to this. Like I said, Deidre, I am not 6 foot tall. When them girls say, if you say 5, just shut up. I don't make 6 figures. I'm a school teacher, so you know I don't even make almost. I ain't gonna tell you what I make, but I teach children, right?
yeah,
I ain't gonna talk about my penis size because I could try to not
that's not our
embarrass
business.
my wife.
We don't. Yeah, that's none of our
listen
business.
to the podcast. So all of the things that
You're
you
not gonna
say,
get our
check,
shit
right?
shut down just now.
But I'm gonna tell you this:
Pull
the
out the
reason
air.
why. Remember what you said earlier, and we all agree. You cannot believe what is said on the internet. The women who are loudest on the internet requiring a certain amount of inches, I bet you a girl 5-incher who could call them right now and fuck them good.
Damn.
A lot of the shit that people are saying, when people go on the internet and they speaking real loud and bold on some dumb shit, their life is probably the opposite.
The views of the
Probably.
Good Podcast are
So-
not the views of the Virgin Islands Lottery. Just want to put that out there.
I'm sorry, but and also I'm gonna say this, and y'all could be as mad at me as you want. All of us have been on the internet capping about something.
Yeah.
We have
Oh, yeah.
all been on the internet
I had
capping
to
about
talk
something.
cash shit
So
on the internet.
you may not be 6 feet or 6'2". The reality is as a tall person, tall people are not average. Most of us are the tallest people in the room. So these women who like, if he ain't 6'2", he can't talk to me. Bitch, you fucking lying. You're fucking lying. Okay, shut the fuck up. Like, you're lying. If Dre, who's probably 5'8" or whatever height he is,
Chill.
approaches-
11, 5'11".
5'11", exactly.
Yeah, right.
5'11" is tall, Dre. 5'11" is fucking tall.
It
So
is
if you
tall.
approach 5'11" is tall. Okay. First of all, I'm 5'10", and if a 5'11" man approach me, I'm gonna praise God because the short kings love me. In any case,
And there's
you could
nothing
approach
wrong
a
with short
woman.
kings.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with short kings. I'm not saying, oh God, the short king's gonna drag me.
Ain't
I'm
nothing
not
wrong
saying
with
that.
Napoleon.
They good.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with short kings, but what I'm saying is, as a woman that's 5'10", if a man at 5'11" approach me, I'm gonna be grateful. Okay, these 5'2" girl talking about, oh, he needs to be 6'7". Girl, fuck you. That's number one. Dre, even though you don't check the boxes that they're screaming on the internet about requiring, you're gonna still have a higher turnaround in these streets than you think. And that's the thing. A lot of people don't realize that they're gonna have a much higher turnaround than they think they will have.
So I think something important that coming out of this conversation is a lot of people are on the internet lying. They're trying to pull forward this like image of themselves and how they actually think and how they actually move in real life. That is not reality. It's not what they actually think or believe, or it's just not help. So I think how we got here, to answer the question, is we stopped wanting actual human connection and we started kind of prioritizing how we want to be perceived on the internet more so. And I think as the years go by, people are taking that internet persona and they want it to be real life. And they go into these conversations. Remember, I was talking about earlier how sometimes I'll be talking to male friends and like I'll ask one question or say one thing and they come with this like defensiveness of like, oh, well, me gonna tell you because you're gonna think I broke. And I'm just like, you don't pay my bills, dog. I don't care if you broke. Like, we're friends. What are you talking about? Like, sometimes I'll just be like, Papa, I don't care how much you make in a year. Like, I don't care. So
It's literally not your concern.
yeah, I think that like internet, oh, women gotta be this, men gotta be that, black women this, black men that, is like seeping into our real life conversation. And like we're unable to have genuine relationships with each other because of it. I don't know when it happened. I feel like there's always been some element of it because you could hear it in music from the 2000s. You could hear how black men and black women used to talk about each other. So I'm assuming that used to seep into real life, but now it really seemed like we can't even and there's layers because it gets certain people on the internet who I'm like, yo, you are destroying society. Like with these conversations.
Yeah.
So my next question is specifically for Andre. As a black man, and you can't speak for all black men, but asking you from your perspective, where do you feel the least seen by black women?
I don't know, because just kind of talking about not being out there is difficult to say. If I had to speak for every black man in the country and outside of the country, I think I would. I think that we are, or people feel like we're looked at as a dollar sign essentially. Your friend saying, "Well, hey, what you trying to say, broke?" That conversation of money being tied to the stature of a black man is paramount, and we go into all of this high value conversation that I have no idea what the hell a high value man is. But the top of the list is always that they have money. That if he invite a woman out and all her friends, then he have to pay for all her friends. And if he don't pay for all her friends, then he ain't a gentleman and he ain't a man at all. Or if I live with a man and he asks me to go 50-50, we ain't together, we're roommates. So whatever the case would be, when of course the average person in this country don't make that much money. So I think that we are looked at as people who are supposed to provide, sure, but provide financially, and that's almost it, to the point where now we think that we're paying for people. Like we have to buy a woman. And then of course you don't want to be looked at as a prostitute, but then what's the definition of such, right? So it's kind of like, I might be intelligent and I might be charismatic and I might care for people and for animals and I might save I might have a cool book stamp collection or something just interesting about me. But if I don't have money, then I ain't even worth looking at. And that might be a really big rejection of women based on how they approach men like that.
I could definitely see how, and I'm glad we're having this conversation, and that's what it is, a conversation, because I think a lot of the disconnect between, I guess, black men and black women is that actual conversations are not being had and arguments are being had, because I could see how that's how it feels. Like, all you guys want from us is money. I grew up watching, and I can only speak to my experiences, what I've witnessed. I witnessed women be with black men who didn't make a lot of money, but they still treated those men like they did. I've watched women hand a man their card so this man could pretend to pay. I've watched women do that because I was raised by a bunch of women who always told me that men have these egos and you have to make sure you don't embarrass him. And you know what I mean? And I've watched women give men a certain level of respect that I don't even think they made those men truly earn. And so now I think the reason why this conversation is at the forefront is because, back to what we said earlier, millennials are in charge now. We watch that and we're like, I watch these women Let these men pretend to be something that they're not, only for those very men to still disrespect the women who are honoring them in this way, who are making sure that they are perceived as the kind of men that we idealize. Because I think across races, men who make a certain amount of money are who are idolized or idealized, right? So I watched Black women help Black men front like they had it. They didn't have it. They still mistreated those women. So the women of today are like, I'm not doing that. If you want to seem like big boss, you better be big boss or don't come over here. Am I willing? Me personally, I don't get involved in the 50-50 conversation. But a lot of the women who are saying, don't be going 50-50 with a man, it's because they watch their mothers, their aunties, they watch the women before them do it and be treated like shit in the process. And so I think because of it, a lot of people are doing the polar opposite instead of trying to find something more realistic. They're like, you better have everything or don't come talk to me at all. Whereas instead, maybe create your own personal boundary, like how much you're willing to accept or whatever the case may be. Obviously, that doesn't represent all Black men and all Black women, but my answer to that can only be based on what I've seen. And most of the women I've seen who had men who didn't make a ton of money, that's what they did. And I remember being taught to do that and refusing to do it. My version of doing that, I've accepted men who didn't make the kind of money that people say they want a man to make. And it still didn't turn out good for me. Because for me, it's like, oh, we were taught to believe that men with a lot of money were most likely abusive or would weaponize that money against you or would still cheat on you. Well, I've given the broke men a chance and the broke men were no different. So for me, I'm like, I'm gonna just be by myself. And if somebody comes along that makes things even cooler than what they currently are, then we could talk. But I definitely can see how like the men of today now feel like, oh, I'm just being seen as a wallet. Like now women are expecting so much from me that's unrealistic. It's because the men before them disappointed the women before us. And so now we have to figure out a way to remove them from the equation and say, you know what, that's how they handle things. We need to find common ground. We are the adults now. We need to find common ground and not factor in what's been going on before us because everybody's in defense mode.
I'm hearing you and I'm listening to you. But it seems like you're going into the space of you rather cry in a Maybach than in a Civic. So
No. I'd rather cry in my own shit. Period.
Okay.
I don't give a fuck about the Maybach or the Civic because whether a man give me a Maybach or a Civic, there's a good chance he gonna treat me like shit. So I'd rather cry in my own shit.
Okay.
That's where I'm getting at. It's not about the money. It's about the man with or without the money. Right. And I've given broke men and rich men a chance and they all played in my face. So for that, baby, I'm good over here. If I need anything from a man, I'm gonna call one of the men in my family until a man actually proves to me that they ain't gonna treat me like shit. That's all.
That's fair.
So I where I was coming before I was fighting for my life over here. I wanted to add a layer to it, which is that I don't think people acknowledge often, and Andre, you touched on it earlier, how capitalism plays a part in these conversations.
Yes.
A part of it that people don't want to admit is that we want to be taken care of by another person, or we want another person to come with their own shit because we are fighting to survive. And we look at it as a dating conversation, but the reality is when I left college, I remember people saying like, oh, you're marrying an engineer, you good, and you this and you that, right? And they saw it as this like accomplishment that I had. And I really was like, why are people making it about Steven being an engineer? Like, why is that a huge deal? But what I realized is they saw it as like, you good, you set, you found a partner who is going to be able to provide like good income in your relationship. I wasn't looking for a partner who had money, but I will say the one thing I've known about myself growing up, although I did not want to get married, I knew that I could not date somebody who was going to be, I don't know if it was about money, who wasn't going to like graduate college, or who was going to be like in a situation where they're not having stable income or all of that, because I didn't want to struggle. And I didn't want to struggle because I watched my mother struggle and I watched her struggle my father in the picture, like all of that. So there's all of that context for me in my head, which if I was communicating it to a man, I wasn't giving he the whole life story. But in my head, I knew I have to survive at the end of the day. I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to get my degrees. I'm going to get my job and do what I have to do. But at the end of the day, I cannot be with somebody who is not also going to help contribute to that life.
Yeah.
So I don't think it comes out that way. I don't think the conversations that we haven't allow us to get that deep with people. But I think people don't acknowledge the fact that like capitalism is a part of it. There's a reason that there are men who are aspiring to be these like money makers, providers, because they have been socialized to believe that that's where they're supposed to go. And there are women who believe that that's what they're supposed to expect from men. But if we were living in a world where capitalism wasn't a thing, where we wasn't struggling so hard to survive and like maintain our lifestyles, I feel like the dating conversations would look different, because we would be expecting something different from each other versus just the financial,
the things that have been conditioned.
Yeah. And I have a friend who I won't name, but I remember him saying to me that he cannot date right now because financially he is not in a place to date, where his living situation, he's like, I can't bring a woman to this living situation. Like, women are not going to look at me. And I remember being so like positive and being like, oh my God, but you're an amazing person and this and that. Like, women would love you. And he's like, Jay, I hear everything you're saying. And still at the end of the day, if a woman find out where I live, if a woman find out how much I make a year, she's not going to see it for me. And I had hate hearing he said that, but at the end of the day, I get it. And it's not necessarily women equal evil, but that's just, so like, it's capitalism too. It's a woman is not going to search for a partner who is not either on her level or up because of the, like, all the shit. So,
but I gotta say, whoever this person is, I respect them doing that, because I feel like that's how a lot of adults should approach dating in general. How you get a bandwidth to date when you could barely survive. That's just the way I see it. And I get the whole, oh, we can partner up and rub our coins together and all that jazz. Remember earlier during Hey Isa Hill, Dre, when you brought up the fact that back in the tribal days when we were cave people, everybody revered the ones who went out and brought back food? That's still going on in the animal kingdom, right? The reason why women wanted to mate with those men is because they knew their babies would survive. They knew that this person is going to go out and come back with a kill. That's why they were revered back then. And when you observe animals,
we started to sound real alpha male.
I don't care.
No,
female,
but no, I'm not
trying to compare us to animals.
I know you're not. It's just
when you think about like the reality is if you're gonna have a baby, your top priority should be making sure that you are able to keep that baby alive and well, right? Does that mean that, oh, the man should be the only person to make the money? No, but your priority should be making sure that you're providing for this baby, keeping this baby alive. And part of that is even being able to keep yourself alive. Because if you're not well taken care of, you ain't gonna be able to take care of this baby. If your situation is so much so that you're consumed and stressed with not being able to do certain things, then you should stabilize yourself before you bring somebody else into the mix. That's all. That's all.
Okay. So I don't disagree with that.
And that's why I specified adults should be doing that, not just men. Adults should be doing that. Period.
I agree with you that if your living conditions is causing you stress, then you kind of have to stabilize, because then you're bringing that into whoever you're dealing with. So all right, cool. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm interested in the answer to the question from you guys' perspective, if you wouldn't mind here, Isa.
Oh my God, my mic is not working with me today. So the opposite of the question, Deidre, and I want Deidre to go first because Deidre is the fully Black woman in the room. The opposite of that would be, where do Black women feel least seen by Black men?
Black women are just seen as complainers. I feel like no matter what we say or how we say it, we're seen as these ungrateful complainers. And it's like, we're not, and some Black women get angry. I don't fucking enjoy or appreciate that stereotype, that trope. The minute a Black woman airs a grievance, she's told to calm down by everybody, everybody, sometimes even by other Black women. I feel like when you think of all women, Black women are the ones who hold down their counterparts the most. Because even if we use money as the example, right? Because, a lot of men, especially Black men, feel like they're just seen as these wallets to Black women. Black women are the most willing to hold down their partner, to make sure that everything's good and all this jazz. And then if they get beaten down enough from doing that, and then they say, nah, I'm not doing this shit no more, then it's like, her standards are too high. She needs to learn how to, she needs to come down a little bit. People are always trying to humble Black women. And I'm like, we're not seeing that this lady is hurting. We're not seeing that this lady has been through a lot. We're not seeing that this lady just is familiar with abuse everywhere. For some reason, a lot of these conversations always look like, oh, be his peace. And this Black man is going out into the world and dealing with all these oppressive things. So she, Black women are not exempt from, racism and all the things that's going on outside of our homes. But a lot of Black women are expected to be the rock for their man, and they tend to be. If you ask, and even to me, I'm sorry, the fact that money being a requirement is seen as this thing where, oh, you're expecting too much, or that's unrealistic. Even that's unfair to say, because we live in a capitalistic society. We need money to survive and do well. If you ask any other race of woman, and I've seen it, we've seen the social media clips where people would ask different races of women, would you date a man with no money? Every other race of woman is like, no. Some women are more confident saying no. Some are like, they try to find polite ways to say no. But I've seen it where women of other races know. They've been taught and conditioned and raised to make sure that if they choose a partner, that partner has to be able to support them. When a Black woman has that requirement, we're gold diggers or we're city girls, and the message gets lost in delivery a lot, right? But why are we expected to be okay with less when other groups of women are not expected to be okay with less? A lot of white women are conditioned. They're taught to go to college to find the engineers. That's probably why people always used to tell you, hey, Isa, oh, you good. You married an engineer. A lot of white women go to college to find their engineer husband. Does it make it right? No. But they do it, and it's just normal. Black women say, yeah, I'm going to just make sure I choose a partner who got me. And we're seen to be having too much. Hey, as I remember when you came to visit and you said, Deidre, now that I'm here at your place, and you say, if the person ain't doing like you or better, you don't want them. I remember you were like, I get it now. For the most part, men are competing with my peace. Men are competing with that because my reality, and I'm okay being one of those women who's like, if he's not on my level or higher, I don't want him, is because if I could get myself here and I'm a woman and you can't get yourself here as a man, we are not a good fit for each other. I don't want a man who gonna completely take the reins and pay all the bills, but I want a man who has the strength to overcome the kind of shit that I've been able to overcome. And I don't think that's too much to ask for. But to answer the question, I think Black women are just seen as complainers, and it's not fair. It's just not. We deserve to have standards, expectations, and requirements of everybody who comes into our lives, not just romantic partners. When I go into a workplace, I require the same kind of respect I'm giving to others. I don't care who it offends. I don't care, because whether I'm sweet as sugar or assertive as fuck, y'all gonna still see me as a problem. So I'm gonna be the problem. It just is what it is.
So I believe I believe that on some level we all have to settle is such a bad word. I wish I had a better synonym for settle.
Yeah.
I hear that you and well, let's just speak about you, Deja. You have your standards and you shouldn't drop your standards for anybody, right? And I feel like no one should have the right to tell you that your standards are too high. I also think that we'll never find the perfection that we're looking for. Not that you're looking for anything perfect. And like I said, you have your standards and that's fine. I think that generally when people receive 8 out of the 10 things or 9.5 out of the 10 things, that half of a thing could stop you from kind of being in a really good place that you want to be, because we're all going to change. We're going to live and evolve and change. So where this person is now isn't going to be where they are 10 years from now. And that could be in a good or a bad direction, right?
Absolutely.
So I believe that as we make checklists just for kind of everything in life, settling might not be such a bad thing. Not that you are taking one of your standards away, but if the good superbly outweighs the bad, then, or not even the bad, but the preference, I think there can be time to make those gains,
Absolutely. And that's the thing. Realistically, everybody's doing that. Nobody has or will ever find somebody who meets every single expectation. But I feel like the only people being told that are Black women. Generally, when you hear men go on the internet and say, oh, you guys gonna just have to settle. it's usually a Black man talking to Black women. They're not talking to all women. They're talking to Black women. Generally, the people who get the pushback of, oh, your standards might be too high, you might be expecting too much, are Black women. That's my personal opinion. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, somebody please correct me. But I don't usually hear women of other races being told that they should think about skirting around it or settling or expecting less. And we'll never know what somebody's entire list of requirements is. We'll never know that. And usually, again, everybody who has gotten with a partner and found their ideal, that person does not meet every single expectation. So when a woman, especially a Black woman, says, hey, I have specific expectations, that doesn't mean that she's hard pressed to find every single thing on her list. It means, you know what? I've tried enough of, I've partnered with enough, dated enough, I've experienced enough people to know what I want and what I don't want. And I actually like myself, my environment, I like my surroundings enough where if I find somebody who is a good partner for me, I'll be good. If I don't, I'll still be good. I'll probably be better because married women don't live as long as their husbands generally. So either way, I'm going to be good. You know what I mean?
I believe I could die before my wife. I really do believe that. I really do.
You think so?
I believe so, like with all my heart and soul. This is a different topic.
It's a different topic. But regardless,
I said we're going to embarrass her. I go hold myself back from saying these things.
I want to do something weird and kind of frou-frou though. So last night, I'm cuddling with my husband. It's time to go to bed. And I end up like laying like right where you could hear like his heart like beating like hot, right? So I was listening to it and I had this weird moment where I was just like, please do not die before me. Like, it was just like this. I was like, God, I swear to you, if you take this man, be like, I am going to lose it. So anyway, just for people who in long-term relationships, just know you will get to a point where you looking at your partner and you like, dog, I swear to God, if you die, I will kill you. Like, I go beat your ass.
I'm screaming.
That was funny for Jay to say. But to answer the question, I think I feel least seen by Black men when it comes to like in my humanity. Like I think, and this online discourse and a lot of shit contributes to it. I think that there is like an inability by, sometimes the way men are socialized to see us as just people and to see us as something more than this person that I might want to date or this person that I might want to have sex with. There are rare instances where I get to go deeper with a Black man and have an actual like friendship with him. My marriage is one of those places. Ludens is another one of those places. But like, I remember having so many male friends growing up. And then the minute I got into a long-term relationship, it was like, well, I can't talk to you anymore. I can't interact with you the same. Like, it's almost like this whole everything being so much about dating and about what you could do for me, what I could do for you, makes it so that we don't see each other on that like human level. But I think it also contributes to like when Black women talk about the misogyny that we face, the real violence that we face is always like, man, ain't even that bad, or y'all will just be da 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 da. And I'm just like, yo, when we talk about Black women out here getting killed, like we ain't even being dramatic. Like Black women are out here getting killed at higher rates than any other woman and by men within our own community, but we can't talk about it because it feels like we're being disloyal to the men in our community. So I think that wanting loyalty from us comes at the expense of like our humanity and the things that we actually face in. And that's another reason this whole like men versus women dating discourse that piss me off so much, because there are so many other issues that I feel like we could be talking about and seeing each other through and being there for each other through that we don't even get to because we too focused on like, oh, would you take me on a $200 date? Like, bitch, people are dying out here. Like nobody gives a fuck.
And not to make things really uncomfortable and dark, but these Black women who are being murdered by Black men are being murdered by their domestic partners, the very men that they're trusting to be their person. And sometimes it's their brothers but for the most part, it's the Black men that they are closest to that's taking them out of this motherfucker.
Yeah.
But we're seen as complainers. We're disloyal.
And on the flip side of that, a lot of the like black boys who are growing up who are not being raised to be able to be emotional, to really experience like the full spectrum of their emotions are being raised by black mothers who are not allowing that. Like it's we're harming each other on either end, but we don't ever get to the point where we talk about that because we're too busy talking about the superficial shit.
Cheesecake
And then
Factory.
the Cheesecake Factory, like I'm at the point where I'm like, yo, you can't possibly see me because you too busy wanting to talk about you wanting to get into the argument of it. And it happens with a podcast too, where we'll be having a real ass conversation. We'll post a clip, Deidre will set a word man, and they'll lose it
Our
in the
engagement
comments.
skyrockets the minute I bring up. I don't even remember what clip it was, but there was one clip where the alpha males were going.
It was you. I think you were saying something. You were like, you don't want the bare minimum, and it should be okay for you not to want the bare minimum, or something like that. And it went viral. And the reason I saying a lot of this too is because I've noticed that when my clips go viral on a podcast, men respond completely differently to how they respond to when Deidre says something on the podcast and how clips that go viral. It's more violent when it
It's
comes to
literal
Deidre,
violence.
and it doesn't miss me that it's because Deidre
It's
is
'cause
a
I'm a
visibly black
definitive-
woman. She's definitively black. Like, so
Exactly.
that's the part I think where I feel least seen is like you can't even get to the bottom of what coming out of Deidre mouth because you see black woman and you just like, oh, she coming for we, like
She coming for we. She should be glad to. Listen, a lot of the experiences that I've had is men, and not all, right? I've had men who treated me very well, right? The reality is a lot of men treat me, or not even just men, people, but especially men, black men, they treat me like I should be grateful that they want to talk to me. Like they're throwing me a bone. Why? Because they don't even like themselves. They don't want their children to look black or whatever the case is. So when a black man, and this is not saying all, but a lot of black men who tend to value non-black women or whatever the case may be, the only black women that they are interested in are the ones who are exceptionally gorgeous, right? And I'm gonna toot my own fucking horn. That's the fucking category I fall in. They then turn around and act like, well, their favorite thing to say is that they don't usually go for dark-skinned women, and that's when they don't have access to me. But especially when I was a lot younger, when I was a teenager, that was their version of complimenting me. You're very pretty for a dark-skinned girl. I've never dated somebody dark-skinned before. Well, you're not about to. You know, they think they're throwing a black woman a bone. And it's like, baby, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I hear as a speak about not being looked at as a human is because we are socialized not to. Like you guys are is game. It's like game hunting. You know, people are go out and shoot there and then put their head on the wall. Like that's how we're taught. Like I was speaking to my students the other day and speaking to them about how I was one of the, not probably the last of my friends to lose their virginity in high school, right? And it was one of my friends that was like, yo, we have to get you off. We gotta break you off your comb. So it would be, okay, have this girl, I know to just have sex with everybody. You just gotta go and have sex with her. Just get it out of the way. You don't want to have sex with somebody who you care about for your first time, because what if you suck, right? You just kind of have to look at somebody who, what they would say or how they would perceive, don't have value in themselves. So it wouldn't be a value exchange, or it wouldn't be something that would be important to them because they just kind of have sex with everybody. So it's very dangerous, and it is something that we kind of have to break the cycle of, because you guys, for a lot of men, are looked at as a game and not the prize, even though I don't feel like women are the prize. Sorry. I don't feel men are the prize either, but you're not looked at as a human being. It's just something that we have to break.
I'm laughing because I know Britt listening to this podcast and she's saying men are not the prize.
Because she never disproved me when I say men are the prize. Let me say to Deidre, I don't know how much time we have in the podcast, but this is gonna be worth it. Deidre, here to say you're a logical woman.
You don't even have to waste your time, Dre. I will never agree with that. Don't even bother. Don't bother. I'm never going to ever, like, there's nothing anybody can say to me.
Is a good man harder to find than a good woman?
Is a good man harder to find than a good woman?
Yes.
Yeah.
So then how is it possible that a good man is not the prize?
the prize, my belief on who the prize is based on biology. Period.
Just because of bearing children?
It's not even just because of bearing children. We are the gatekeepers of life. Yeah,
But
y'all
what
have
if-
let me finish. Yeah, y'all have the
I'm
ingredients.
listening.
Them ingredients ain't going nowhere or doing nothing if they're not put with our ingredients. And we don't have ingredients. We have the actual machinery to turn them ingredients into a literal human being. We are the gatekeepers of life. We are the prize, period. Science has proven it. And this is a cross species. And I hate to bring animals into the mix, but humans are a species of animal. Whichever being in that species is at risk of dying as a result of procreation is the prize. Who is at risk of death? And see, with the seahorses, if the male seahorse is at risk of dying, then he's the prize. Within human society, human species, who is at risk of dying because a baby is being built?
You, of course.
Then we are the prize.
A woman is the most incredible
I don't go
thing I've
based
ever
on
encountered.
social conditioning. I go based on biology. Whichever member of that species, whichever member of a species is at risk of dying as a result of procreation is the prize. If male seahorses are at risk of dying, then they are the prize. Whoever is at risk of dying is the prize. I'm never going to change my mind.
We call arbitrage.
I don't.
That's my
jump
belief.
into the price conversation
Because a species matter because it continues.
But this is the internet stuff, right? This is the same internet stuff we were talking about. And if I viewed it differently, if I said, hey, I am the prize, if I really believed that there would be that head button, right? And none of us would be giving ground on what we felt. But we are sharing this human experience together. And there's nothing that you said was wrong. Nothing that I said was wrong.
Right.
So going back to what Heza was saying in the beginning, we need to put on the damn phone. I feel like one of the questions would be how we to fix all of this stuff. We need to put on the damn phone. We need to go outside and talk to people and engage with people. Everybody's representative or avatar on the internet is different from, well, some people's avatar is different from who they actually are, for fortunate or unfortunate reasons.
Yeah.
So once you get to know somebody and you understand their train of thinking and you understand why they don't feel as though somebody should come into their place or why they require somebody to make a certain amount of money, then there's a lot more understanding versus I am the prize. No, I am the prize. Or we both have the prize. And just put on the phone, man.
No, you so right, because that's what it comes down to is people are not going into these discussions to understand the other side. They're going in to be right. Because everything you said earlier is valid. When you hear women say, these are my requirements, of course you're going to just feel like a wallet. Of course you're just going to feel like a wallet. And I sympathize with that. I can't empathize with that. But I can certainly sympathize with the fact that it's like, bro, like all you see me as is a wallet. It must suck to hear that from the people that you want to be involved with, you know? And so it's like, yeah, I definitely understand where you're coming from, you know, like, but a lot of people don't want to understand each other. They just want to argue and be right. And it's uncomfortable to watch. And we do all need to just put these fucking phones down.
We really do. We really do.
After you listen to the Good Up podcast. After you listen to the podcast.
But
you could listen to Good Up, you know, pull it up in a car and just lock your phone. Lock your phone.
Put it away. Yeah. Put on your AirPods. Listen to the podcast while you do your chores.
You know, go mop your floor. It's been a while. Get off the internet. No, but there's so much more world out there than there is on the internet. And I think I will say I went through a phase where like man could have told me anything and it was in one ear and out the other because I wasn't trying to hear that shit from man. I'll be honest. I was just like, man, whatever, fuck y'all are all misogynistic, you all full of shit, you know, girl power. Like I went into that feminist phase of like, now I understand feminism, now I understand what women are going through. Fuck men. Like I was like angry. And then, you know, I got into this relationship that I'm in now, and my relationship with my best friend started to develop. And I think those two men being in my life and like really being honest with me about the things that they've experienced allowed me to have empathy for their experience. But also to like understand more of like where they were coming from. Again, we get off. It was not an internet conversation where it was very superficial. I was able to like understand how they grew up and this and this and that. And what I will say is like, I do get that feeling of being seen as only one thing and how that can come across. When I heard that friend tell me that like he does not feel prepared to date until he meet X requirements. It was heartbreaking to hear because I genuinely love this person and I genuinely see everything there is about that person that is worthy of love outside of just get a better job, get a better living situation, all of that. And for him to feel like he was not worthy of being loved until this was like, shit, like that.
Yeah, it's really
I
sad.
wonder how many people feel that way until, you know, for women, until they look a certain way, until they do this, until they know how to do all types of positions and ride for longer than 5 minutes while their knees caving in. I don't know, but
It's not possible. But
it's not
No,
possible.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was gonna ask you, because if it's pretty common for women to put off, you know, getting with a partner until they are able to achieve certain things. How many, you know how common it is, which is so weird to me, it grosses me out. You know how many classes exist for women to learn how to give a good blowjob? These things exist. There's so many things out there for women to better themselves for a man, but there's not anything out there for men to better themselves for women, because men been getting women this whole time. I feel like it's, at least in our community, I feel like it's only now that women are saying, no, I am not getting with somebody if they don't do XYZ. Right. And I think it's an extreme. I feel like some of the standards are a little extreme, but I feel like this requirement is new in our community. I feel like before, Black women were just blindly, you know, upholding these men, and we cannot deny it. Look at the civil rights movement. Like, Black women were blindly revering our men for a very long time, and then it turned into like this thing where this automatic level of loyalty is just expected no matter what these men are doing. Look at how so many people responded to, what's his name, Jonathan Majors? Is that who abused his white woman?
Yeah.
How many people did y'all hear
Jonathan
say
Majors.
that's what happened when you like white women? You know why they said that? Because Black women be getting beat the fuck up by their men, and they don't say shit. That's why people were like, oh, that's what you get for liking white women, because that white lady went running down the street. Black women would have still been at the fucking hospital. Like, and granted, his white woman did that too, right? But that was people's first defense. Instead of saying, yo, this man is violent as fuck, why is he beating up on his woman? You know, like, that's what's going on. And I think it's new for men in our community to be expected to bring more than just themselves to the equation.
Yeah, I think that in order to, so I mean, that was really my final question is how do we get past it, right? And I think one of the first things is, like Dre said, get off the phone. But the second part of it is we have to be willing to take accountability for ourselves and hold each other accountable in a realistic way. Not hold each other accountable to unrealistic standards, but I think until we get to a place where when Black women talk about the violence that we face and Black men are willing to actually hear it and not take it so personally and get defensive, we ain't gonna make progress. Until we get to a place where Black men are telling Black women like, hey, sometimes when we express our feelings to you, you do throw it back in our face. Like, I remember having that conversation with my husband. I'd be like, no, I don't. Like, you don't even express your feelings right. And he was like, what does that even mean? I was like, oh, never mind. But
like, what? What's the right way to express your feelings?
No, but I instantly got defensive in that conversation because he was like, yo, sometimes when I don't tell you about something and you'll be like, yeah, I hear you, like, talk to me or whatever, then it comes up in conversation later on. Women do. And he gave me an example and I was like, never thought of it that way. But until I was willing to actually hold myself accountable, we wasn't able to have that conversation, and vice versa for him. So I think accountability is a big part of it, and people do not like taking accountability. It's that shit feel like you're dying, but it's something we have to do. So that's my piece. If anybody else
we don't hold the mirror in front of our faces for long enough to see that in ourselves. Just in the space of accountability, not having to be a thing where women don't take accountability or men can't take accountability. It needs to be something where you do that deep work in yourself, the shadow work, big up to the shadow work episode, the therapy episodes, all of these other things where, why do I act the way? Why do I feel the way? How do I feel? How do I look at women, or why do I look at women in such a way? Until you could answer those questions, then I would say even then, don't date then. Don't not date because you don't make over $50,000. don't date because you don't have an understanding of exactly why and who you're looking for, and how to treat people with decency. Not because they have a vagina, not because they you hear about them someplace, not because they have this ass, or whatever the case may be. Like, you want to be able to get into business with people, to treat people as people, and you gotta look at yourself in the mirror to understand why you can't.
Yeah, I agree. I forget the question. I'm being a lie.
I mean,
Oh, how do we stop?
yeah, how do we get past the
Well,
beef?
well, it's everything you guys said. It's, you know, doing the work on yourself. Because I feel like a lot of people are so wrapped up in what's outside of them that they're not doing what needs to be done for themselves. So it does come down to looking in the mirror, figuring out who you are, right? Because the reality is, it takes two to tango. It's not always the other person. You know what I mean? It's both of y'all in the situation. Like, and like, if you're not comfortable understanding what you contributed to whatever it is breaking down, then it's going to keep being the same thing over and over. I do feel like it's going to be a long time before this happens. I got to say, I've generally given up on a lot of this. Like, this conversation that we're having, I've personally removed myself from it because I just don't, I don't see the point. Like, I get the goal, right? But I can't want more than others, right? And maybe that's a cop out. Maybe I'm just as toxic. Who knows? But for me, I already recognize, like, okay, we are in this really fucked up position. I don't know that I should want something that, from what I'm seeing, just based on the data and what's been going on this whole time, I don't really see much hope. And maybe I still have work to do to get over that, but I don't really see the hope because, you know, we're always talking about the percentage of good men to not so good men, or whatever the case may be. It's like, all I can do is make sure that the one that I'm raising turns out to be part of the good bunch, right? That's all I can do. Make sure that he's around the good bunch. Shout out to my brothers and my dad, you know, shout out to the men in my life who are part of the good bunch. All I can do is my part, but I used to be so invested in the big picture. And I'm like, I'd rather take that big picture, break it down into like a puzzle, right? And puzzle pieces, and focus on my piece of the puzzle. I don't have the bandwidth, the strength, the energy to keep investing in something, and it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. Sometimes I feel like I'm watering a dead plant or pouring a cup of water into an empty well. I'm like, you know what? Fuck the big picture. My puzzle piece is this little boy, right? I have to make sure that I raise him to understand the value of women, because we raise boys to understand their value. We can't deny that, right? We raise men. What do they say? We love our sons and raise our daughters. I don't have daughters. I have a son. So all I can do is make sure that while I'm teaching him self-respect and while I'm teaching him to love himself, I also teach him the importance of loving others, especially women, just the same. That's what I can do. And as a collective, I think maybe if we stopped looking at the huge picture and started looking at our individual contributions, it might get a little easier. There's this quote that I love. I don't know the exact quote, but the gist is, if everybody cleaned their front porch or their portion of the sidewalk, if every single person on the street cleaned their part of the curb, the whole street would be clean. I think we need to take a step back.
You can't clean your street from Twitter, is all I saying.
Hey, Isa, thank you so much. You cannot clean. Y'all on the fucking internet arguing. Are you paying attention to your fucking kids? Be more introspective. Just be more introspective. Break down the big picture into a puzzle. Focus on your puzzle piece. And before you know, if everybody did that, if everybody was more introspective, and then guess what? Eventually you come out and you end up in alignment with people who are in the same section of the puzzle as you, right? And then that shit continues to spread. Before you know it, you got a fully built puzzle. Break it down. Like, take a step back. I feel like that's how we fix this shit. We look at our own individual shit, because we said it earlier. we can only contribute to these conversations based on our own experiences, what we've witnessed. So do that in the healing of this whole thing. And that's really all I got.
Andre, any final thoughts?
Well, I listen a lot, not just to the podcast, but when people speak, I listen a lot, and I hope that Deidre doesn't lose hope. Before she even came on, like all of this stuff, all this marriage and finding your person thing, it's a lot of luck, It's a lot of serendipity. Like my friend had to go to jail in order for me to meet my wife.
Oh, wow.
It was no way around it. I wouldn't have been where I was at the time if he hadn't gone to jail and come out and say, let me go to the village. I would have never met Nina. And nobody would have wanted a friend to go to jail, right? But it had to happen.
I had to drop out of school to meet that man.
Nina had to experience things in her life. Her best friend passed away. All of those things, in my opinion, contributed to her winning Miss St. Croix. If she wasn't Miss St. Croix, she wouldn't have been St. Thomas for me to meet her. In all of the work that you and I and we all need to do to ourselves and with ourselves, it's still luck. And life ain't easy, but it's really simple.
Can we also be open to the possibility that you might not have a person?
You might not have
and that's okay too.
You might have multiple.
Some people spend so much time trying to find a person when the person they should be trying to find is themselves.
Yep.
Some people are not meant to partner with somebody for life and all that shit. Maybe you're meant to be with a bunch of people over your lifetime, right?
I joke about my second husband all the time.
I think I'm meant to have a lot of people. I'm kidding.
I mean, no, but that's a good segue. And I think that would be my final thought for the show is we need to, in addition to everything else that we said, we need to start getting out of this idea that the only way we interact with each other is through dating and through relationships, and through romantic relationships specifically. Ludens had said when he was on the podcast before that he feels like men are missing out from not having genuine friendships with women, and I feel the same way. As a woman who used to have a lot more genuine friendships with men, I feel like that part of my life sometimes is missing. So I would like to see specifically Black men and Black women reapproach how we can interact with each other outside of just romance, because a lot of the conversations we haven't even gained to where we need to be because we so focused on dating each other,
partnership,
partnership, and that's the only way we think we can interact, and it doesn't allow us to see each other as human, to respect each other, to have any kind of genuine relationship outside of what we think we can provide. So yeah, if you leave this episode with anything, it's to really take an inventory of your life and ask yourself, like, how many people of the opposite gender am I actually friends with? And why am I not? And if so, like, is that something I could change about my life? This was such a good conversation. I have a feeling it's gonna be like a 2-hour episode. Andre, thank you so much for being on the podcast. As you can see, we don't hate you. It was such a good conversation.
I know, we love you. I know. The hill will just have some supplies there. If I decide to go back up, I come down off the hill. I ain't going to completely abandon it.
You know, Andre, I want you to think of a topic that you want to talk about and then come to we and be like, this is what we talking about. Are we gonna
this
say
is what I want to do, right?
Yeah, yes. I want to have a conversation with Andre that's not related to like gender or like
where
social
he comes
things,
in willingly.
Andre is so smart and fun. You know what I mean? Like I want us to talk about aliens or some shit. Like what is a let's talk about something lit. Something
I want to do an episode where I talk about like the conspiracy theories that I actually do believe. Or like random shit I do believe, even if it's illogical, like, you know. Put that on the list.
I'll be it. I go always be here to test and
fun.
To push the boundaries of thought, to have your imagination stretch. I am always down for that conversation every day. I do try to do it with my students every day outside of the mathematics that Hayes also hates. I didn't bring that part up and you hating me, but I know you hate mathematics.
Wait, that's what you be teaching people is math?
He's a math teacher.
I know both are hate me. Listen.
No, here's the thing. No, I don't hate you at all. I actually appreciate you because math.
Maybe Andre, if you were my teachers growing up, I would not hate math. But my teachers also didn't help. And if you was my teacher and you listening to this, you were not good. I'm sorry.
They ain't good up.
They're not good up because math teachers tend to be very how you don't notice type people.
Yeah,
And math
like-
is not one of those things where you should shame people for not grasping
No,
a
of course
concept
not.
quickly.
It's all about exploration. All about
Exactly.
exploration.
So I
Yeah.
was not supported in my hatred of math, and I still hate math to this day. Okay. And that's just, you should have been like my English teacher and support me.
right. Like, why were English teachers always so
They
warm
were so
and
kind and
nurturing?
warm, and you should come by during lunchtime so we could talk about your essay.
So-
My teachers used to be like,
so
you
the
don't know
thing
how
is this,
to
right?
subtract fractions. Get a fuck out of my class.
Yeah,
Like-
yeah. So this is a whole other episode, but mathematicians tend to be rigid sometimes, but I am a lot more liberal arts mentally than I am hard science, and I think it makes for a good balance. So anytime I would speak to you ladies, anytime on or off air, for sure. You guys already know
Okay.
how we
Well,
just stay.
I've given up on that. I marry an engineer and they still didn't change anything. But he used to help me with math in college. I helped him with his thesis. You know, I edited
Aw,
it,
look
made
at
sure it
y'all.
sounded good. So we balance each other out. All at the
Yeah, that's
same.
necessary. That
Find-
balance is necessary.
Find your people. Sometimes it ain't about paying a bill. Sometimes you just need somebody who's good at math. Okay.
That's
good
what
at math.
that's what
Hey.
partnership is supposed to look like. I bring
That's
something
the
that you
name of the
can't
episode.
bring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
No,
balance
the
each
name
other
of the
out.
episode is sometimes you need to find somebody that's just good at math.
Good at math. That's a long
I
time.
like
I
that.
go point. I go
It's
point.
true.
Pointed.
I hope that this will cause y'all to seek out the opposite genders in your lives, get off the internet and have some actual conversations with them about how they might
Yes.
be feeling, what they might be experiencing. And as always, you know where to find us on social media. Tag us in your thoughts, DM us. If you part of the VIP section, we have a Discord now. We have a group chat. So
I need
jump
the
in
link.
the Discord. Then we update the link in a group. Andre don't even
I'll
know
look
for
for
the
it.
link there. Yeah, look for the link.
No, I went to use it and it will mash up, and I actually type it in and like, hey, the link ain't good up no more or something.
Yeah,
like
and I reply to your comment, and I will like,
Okay, so I
here's
gotta
the
go
new
look.
good up link. Yeah, see, we right here.
that. See, I'd be off the internet. That's why.
Exactly.
And being
So-
a good man, taking care of his family.
Exactly. So, but we have a Discord. If you are not a patron, make sure that you join us on patreon.com/gooduppodcast. In order to join our groups, though, you have to be a paid member. I recognize that now Patreon has it so that you could join for free. Sorry, mama, you are not going to get access to any content for free. Our patrons support the podcast. The lowest tier is $1. You have to join the dollar
Yeah.
tier to get access to the stuff. Okay, with all that being said, we love Ayo bad. We're gonna see Ayo next week. I think this episode dropping the day after my birthday, so wish me a happy fucking birthday, okay?
Hey,
With that being said,
happy birthday.
shout out to the Aries them. And yeah, Deidre, hold on, let me make sure I set up. Tell the people them bye. The Good Up Podcast is sponsored by the Virgin Islands Lottery. This podcast is Virgin Islands hosted and produced by Deidre Ritter and Heiza Quinones Ivory. Follow us on all social media platforms at Good Up Pod. Join the VIP section over at patreon.com/gooduppodcast and get access to exclusive bonus content, or visit our website and read more about our episodes at goodupvi.com. This season of the Good Up Podcast is proud to be sponsored by Empath Psychological Services, The Blend Collective, and Greater Changes.